was a fair amount, yeah. So that's good to know. So your summer is going to be busy. Sounds like the Red Bull thing is like, that's not what I planned, but okay. So.
I'm sure people have asked you several times, how do you compare India studies with
Yes,
here?
yeah.
Is it tougher here or
It's very, we had to,
It's easy?
speed up, we had to meet his counselor like every 2 weeks. No, don't give them his, this subjects. Like give something more challenging. It was very easy for him. Like.
So you said Dunwoody High School, right?
Dunwoody.
What do you take 4 classes every semester, or is it 6 all year?
4.
You're on a block, so 4 and 4?
That's
Okay.
the challenge. So we
So it
cannot
is a challenge,
go
yeah.
on an
Which ones are you
expedited
giving
mode.
right now? Accelerated chemistry.
And then accelerated geometry, advanced algebra.
Next year is opted for computer science and
Yeah, probably it's like
AP calculus.
AP Calc, okay.
AP pre-calculus and AP
Pre-calculus.
physics.
And AP Physics, okay.
Yeah, that.
Okay. No, but I mean, as long as he's on track to graduate in 4 years, that's really the big deal. I mean, that's always every counselor's goal. We like to get our kids out the door in 4 years, so that's important. Yeah?
Two aspects I feel are important for students is for graduation.
Yeah.
High school graduation, what do you need to do?
Okay.
Those who come liking.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, what kind of courses do you choose?
Yeah. And
From your undergraduate courses point of view.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Generally, the graduation requirements I don't think, they're the state's graduation requirements. So it doesn't matter which county you're in, there are certain classes that you have to take in order to graduate high school. But that having been said, like certain counties have their own requirements that they feed in. So for example, at Wheeler, in the magnet program, just what you need to take to graduate in 4 years meets the state standards but goes above it. So because we tack on a lot more that these kids have to earn in 4 years. So it's just different. But some of the graduation requirements are pretty standard, like you have to get 4 English credits. So out of the 4 English credits, 9th Lit, which is your 9th grade literature, whatever you're taking, and American Lit are 2 must-haves. You have to have that. If you're taking it at the AP level, then your AP Lang in 11th grade counts as your American Lit. So 4 English, have to have 4 math credits. So out of the 4 math credits, Algebra 1, Geometry and Algebra 2 are a must-have. You have to have those 3, and then beyond that you can do whatever you want. For science, you have to have Biology, Chemistry and Physics, and then at least 1 more science. So that's 4. English, Math, Science. Social Studies, you have to have World History, have to have US History, and then you have to have Economics and Government. And Econ and Gov, those are only half credits. So these are all state requirements. You generally have to have, and these I think are more Cobb County, like I don't know how it varies from county to county, but for us, students have to have at least 2 units in either foreign language, fine arts or career tech, right? Have to have that. Generally the way it works is if you're looking to apply to a 4-year college, you have to have at least 2 units of foreign language in high school. So did you learn Hindi in India?
Yes, Sanskrit.
Sanskrit, okay.
So
They gave you credit for
that
it.
did the trick for him.
So that met your
He already met with the.
How many credits did they give you?
So for they cleared my languages, so I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So did they give you credit for 2 years, 1 year, like how many years was that?
All the years.
What they said is now he doesn't have to do any of the foreign
Okay.
languages.
So I'm thinking you had probably 2
Because
years.
he has done 3 years of Sanskrit in the school, like
Okay.
8, 9, 10.
8, 9, and 10. That makes sense,
Yeah.
yes, because we will give credit for 8th grade classes.
Yeah, okay.
As long as they're high school classes. Okay. Let's see, what else? And then you have to have a certain number of electives. Electives are anything that you take that's not a core subject, right? So if you do engineering classes, art classes, culinary classes, whatever your school is offering you, you need a total of 7 in that area. So 7 would include the 3 that I talked about in foreign language and career tech. So
Okay.
you need a total of 23 credits to graduate. So, I mean, I'm sure his counselors have him on track.
Yeah,
I think in DeKalb is 24.
24.
24,
Yeah, and like right now he's on the 15. So he has to take
So,
a loan.
right.
Yes,
Till the end
but
of
probably
12.
not the combination of 50 that you, or 24 that you need. he's missing some stuff, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
a lot.
And that's okay, I mean, that's bound to happen when you're coming from India because it doesn't always match up to what we do here. Yeah, but, I mean, as long as he's on track to graduate in 4 years, that's what matters. So, yeah. So are we still waiting? What would you?
Yeah, we can wait for another 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. So, who else? It's still way too early for you, right? You don't have to think about it, don't think about it. That's it, just set it aside. There'll be enough pressure when you get to high school to worry about all of that.
Just thinking, what are these people
I know.
talking about? Should I be here in first place?
Do I really
No,
need to
she has
be
come for
there?
her elder brother.
That's sweet. That's sweet. You're gonna go home and tell your brother everything, right?
My brother's school.
He is coming here? See, I would have given you something to do. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about with the college application process. I mean, we can do multiple presentations, we can break it down. So today is going to be more of an overview of the application process itself. And then, you know, if Gitanjali feels there's a need, if there's an audience, I'm happy to do additional presentations as well. So, yeah. So I guess we'll just wait until everybody comes.
Yeah, we can ask them exactly what they're looking for.
Actually, that's a good thing. Yeah, if anybody wants to just throw out, like, why did you come here today? What kind of information were you looking for?
Basically, we have also moved from India in the
Okay.
past 2 years.
Okay.
And the entire education system itself is a bit different.
Yeah.
And we don't see much input from counselors. That's my experience even in Bickup as well as in Foresight.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
that's where I'm here. I don't know it's like a portfolio that you have to start building from 8th grade
That is true,
onwards, I would
yeah.
say. And with that aim, I think I don't want to miss anything in this year. My son is in 8th grade right now.
8th grade, okay, okay. All right, and which high school will you go to?
He will go to Central Foresight.
Okay, okay. And,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
us, we have to do that.
Okay.
For us, actually, the big challenge is to select the courses. Basically,
Okay.
the basic requirements are okay, means which you have just said. But
Yeah.
the thing is that, so for better perspective, which courses we need to select.
yeah. So tell me again, your high school does 4 and 4 or do you do 6 year long?
6 year.
6 year long, okay. That makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes.
And then I think now they have given a credit for Hindi as 2 credits.
2 credits for Hindi,
So
okay.
do I have to do Spanish?
So here's the thing, you're in 9th grade, right? So the 2 Hindi credits that you got, I'm assuming you took them last year. You took it in 8th grade? Or Hindi?
8th and 9th,
Eighth
first
and
semester
ninth.
we have completed in India.
But you're starting again. Or did you come, you came in January?
Yes.
Remember that, okay. So here's the thing, do you have to take Spanish? In terms of meeting requirements, probably not. But I would say it would not be a bad thing for you to do if you can fit it in. But with being on a traditional schedule where you only have 6 classes a year, it's really tight. Because I don't know how many credits you all need for graduation, like 23, and you take 24, so 4 years. And you've already missed 1 semester, right?
No, they have given 1.5, 4.5 extra
Total credits.
total credits
We
for
got,
first semester.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do they give you credit for?
They gave me credit for, let me check, can I check it?
Yeah, yeah. You're not at school, honey. It's okay. Hello, my name is Sumana. You guys just walked in. Do you want to tell me what grades you all are in, just so I know my audience? What grade are you
I'm
in?
Isha. I'm in 10th grade.
10th grade. Where do you go to school?
Woodward Academy.
Okay. Yeah. And,
I'm Shaktika. I go to school in Columbia, South Carolina.
oh my goodness. Okay. Did you drive down for the weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. When you say school, college, like what?
High school. I'm in 11th grade.
You're in 11th grade. Okay. How about you?
My name is Raghuram and I go to school in Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow, this is quite I'm sorry, I'm just taken aback. I wasn't expecting this today. Gitanjali said just a handful of people, and I said, sure, come talk to them. I didn't expect a national audience.
And
That's
I'm
awesome.
in 10th grade.
You're in 10th grade? Okay, so 11, 10. What grade did you tell me?
10th.
10. Okay, and what about you?
I'm Nikhil. I go to Pope High School and I'm in 10th grade.
10th grade. Okay. So you got, all of you are kind of getting there. You're in the thick of things. 11th grade, right?
No, I'm 11th.
11th grade, sorry. You're in the thick of things right now.
Yeah.
So tell me what you've been hearing so far.
Like about what?
About college, like what have your counselors taught you, like what have they presented, what's been done? Like where are you at in the process?
I really don't. I mean, I just keep my GPA up, and I'm taking the SAT once, and I'm gonna take it again in
Okay.
June.
Okay, no, that's a good time to take it for you. You're on track as far as that goes.
Yeah.
So have you started looking? Do you have a sense for where you'll apply?
My dream college is Emory, or maybe
Really?
Boston University. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
It's amazing. When you talk to any child who's applying to college, they always want to go as far away from home as possible. My children are no exception. One wants to be up in New York, the other one wants to be somewhere in Virginia, but not
I
here.
got it before, but
It's all good.
Our anchor is here.
I'm sorry?
Our anchor is here. So
Okay.
we can
Sorry.
officially get started.
It's not just a couple of minutes. That's one topic.
Yeah, out of the state, yeah. How
It's
is
not
that?
just people coming from India.
Yeah,
Even when you go to out of state
absolutely.
universities,
Yeah,
writing is cheaper.
yeah, no, it does.
I got 2 credits for Hindi.
Good afternoon everyone and welcome to the event. We are going to start the event today by welcoming our guest, Mrs. Sumana Mutkar. I invite Mrs. Mantri to welcome her with a bouquet and then we'll start the program. Thank you.
Totally unnecessary.
Again, good afternoon. I am Manjari Srikumar and I am very delighted to welcome all of you at this event. This is the event to introduce all of us to Path to College. This is specially designed for the students who are looking forward to joining college campus life as well as their parents. This event is part of Partnership Life Management Foundation and its programs. For those who know little about foundation, I would like to introduce a little bit about foundation first. Partnership Life Management Foundation has been founded in the name of Dr. R.P. Parnerkar, a great intellect, a great visionary, as well as a very highly spiritual personality. He had deep knowledge of vast areas of different aspects of life and different subjects, including, but not limited to, from ranging from astrology to economics. Sorry about it. He propounded principle of life management and helped thousands of people and families to stage contentment through his approach. His son, Advocate V.R. Parnerkar, is continuing his father's mission for last few decades. Parnerkar Foundation carries on his stream of philosophy and approach related to life challenges and situations in North America. So it is close to our life currently and whatever the challenges we are facing. So to align with that principle, align with that kind of thought process, this program is arranged today by the foundation. It is actually there are 3 fronts of life they are kind of addressing. They say that life and science is not the only thing. What we are looking at is like a material, emotional and spiritual achievements in the life. So we have more fulfilled life. Then to address all that and so currently what we are looking at is when the child goes to high school, what usually in the family happens is everyone is like focused on certain things, like they are looking at what the career path is choosing, what is the best college, what are the things kind of they are going to follow to get to that college, and all those things we are very particular about. Maybe parents are like very focused that the child gets to the best college, and the children are also into the same mode. So we start gathering the information and all, and to help that process, the foundation has brought this program and arranged this evening for all of us. I would like to kind of quote one very beautiful line I heard about what Dr. Parnerkar said about the education. He says, wisdom means application of acquired knowledge. Today's problem is not acquiring knowledge, but bringing it to action. We also need to know practical solution for the problem and tools to implement the solution in the real world. It has been said many years back, but yet it is so true today, and it is so aligned with today's program. So without further ado, I invite Mrs. Subhana Mudgal to the front. Before that, let me introduce her in briefly to all of you. Mrs. Mudgal chairs as a counselor in Wheeler High School, and she is an award-winning educator. She is working in Wheeler High School from I think 2011, and she has received Yale Award of Educator in 2015.
Wow.
Helping students in college preparation is one of her expertise, and she is an amazing person. She's an amazing person with zeal of helping students with social and emotional concerns as well as academics. She makes her available to the students with appointments as well as walk-in basis. One thing that will catch everyone's eyes when they see the counselor web page for Wheeler High School, I quote, Mrs. Mudgal is available for students in emergency. Her doors are always open for students in emergency. That actually indicates her commitment and her to the students as well as her profession. I'm very delighted to welcome her here, Mrs. Mudgal. We are all eyes and ears.
Wow, that was quite an introduction. Can everybody hear me? Do I need to use the mic?
No.
You can hear me? Okay. I really want to keep this presentation informal. Please just raise your hand, ask questions. We're here to talk about the college application process. And if you look at what needs to be done over the course of 4 years, starting 9th grade right up to the point where you really start to put in applications, there's so much that goes into it, it would be impossible to cover in one sitting. So what I decided to do today was to just give everybody an overview of the actual application process, and that this is generally what starts in 12th grade when students are seniors and you're getting ready to submit applications. We'll talk a little bit about timelines, how you get ready when you get yourself to the point where you're actually going to submit an application, and we'll just touch on a few different things. Some of the aspects that I'm not going to cover today are going to be scholarships and financial aid, just general profile development and what you should be doing each year. And I've told Gitanjali that if there's an audience, if there's a need, I'm happy to come and do additional presentations. But today's presentation is just understanding the college application process. So on the agenda today is we're going to talk timelines. So we're going to talk about when does the process actually start, what kind of deadlines should you be aware of. I like to reverse engineer things, so I like to start with the deadlines that we're going to be meeting and then work backwards from there. I talked to some of the students and I was asking, where are you at with the process? So generally, it starts with developing a short list of colleges, and we're going to talk about what that should look like. We're going to talk about the different types of applications when you get to senior year. We're going to talk about supporting documentation and what that looks like. What does that mean? Who sends out what? What is my responsibility as a student? What is my school's responsibility? We're going to talk about letters of recommendation. I'll talk really briefly about paying for college and scholarships, and we'll talk about Hope and Zell Miller for those of you that are in Georgia State. That's a big deal. I mean, it's a scholarship program that really keeps our students in state. And then we'll talk about the FAFSA, which is all financial aid related. So I'll touch on things, I'm not really going to go really deeply into that. So when you look at the process, the actual process of applying to college starts in senior year. There's a lot that needs to be done at pretty much each grade level to get a student ready to the point where they're ready to start applying. But the general timeline is this. You start to apply in the fall of your senior year. So fall is anytime, between August and December. And there are different types of applications that you can use, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But the general timeline is you apply either in the fall, and there are what we call early application deadlines that you would meet in the fall. Or you can do a regular decision deadline, and that is usually the latest deadline unless you have some colleges that will accept applications all the way up to March. But regular decision deadline is usually in January. So you apply either early or by the regular decision deadline. If you apply early, you tend to hear back just before winter break, so sometime around December, so you know whether you have an acceptance under your belt or not. If you apply by the regular decision deadline, you usually hear back around March. And then every student is required to put down a deposit to whichever college they're looking to attend on May 1st. May 1st is the absolute deadline. You don't put down a deposit, you're done, you're out of luck, right? And then we have the financial aid piece, which kind of ties into all of this. There's something called the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. I'll talk about that in more detail. But how the FAFSA plays into all of this is that, and I'm sorry, I did not edit that. FAFSA deadlines have changed this year. So you can start to apply for financial aid using the FAFSA as early as October, but every college has its own deadline. But the FAFSA process usually wraps up by about March. So you really should have had your FAFSA completed and submitted usually in the fall. So that's the general overview of the process. So let's talk about the various deadlines and what it all means. So if you look at college application deadlines, there are a few different types. Okay? There's something called an early action deadline. And the early action deadlines, if you look at, I'm going to talk about Georgia for a second. So some of our major schools here are Georgia Tech and UGA. UGA and Georgia Tech's early action deadline is October 15th. So most of the early action deadlines will start sometime around October, and it usually moves up in 2-week increments. So you have October 15, you have November 1 and November 15. Early action it just means that if you get your application in by that date, you're applying early and you're going to hear back early. You're not making a commitment of any kind. You're not saying, if you do this, I'll come to you. It's nothing of that sort. It's just if you can get the application done and you submit it early, you just hear back early from the colleges. Early decision is a little bit different. So if you pull up any college's website and you're looking at their undergraduate admissions page, they usually list the deadlines there. So early action is EA, early decision is ED. ED is a little bit different. When you apply early decision to a college, what you're saying is, if I submit my application by your early decision deadline, whatever that is, October 15th, November 1, you're saying, if you give me admission, I'm going to come. Which means you're committing, and you're saying, this is it. This is my school, I'm going to be there. I don't think any student should take an